Welcome to the 14th annual Exceptional Schools Fair, our very first virtual edition. Thank you for joining us on this platform. My name is Kim Schraff. I'll be moderating today's panel. And just a reminder to our panelists that we are recording this morning's session. Exceptional schools are schools that provide educational options to students with diverse learning needs. And today you will get to meet 7 representatives from some amazing exceptional schools. Our panel will last about 30 minutes, where you'll hear from each school representative, a little brief introduction, and then I will follow up with some more targeted questions that might help you either find or select an independent school for your child. If you have more specific questions for the schools, you can always visit their Zoom rooms after this panel and have a more targeted discussion then. So without further ado, I would love to begin by welcoming from the Chelsea School, Frank Mills. He's the executive director there. And Frank, tell us about Chelsea.
Thanks so much, Kim. I really appreciate it. And hello to all the families and parents who are joining us on Zoom. Chelsea School is a nonprofit, non-public, special education school that serves students with language-based learning disabilities in grades 5 through 12. We're in our 44th year of operation, and we're located in Hyattsville, Maryland, which is in Prince George's County. Chelsea is a co-ed day school that serves students from all over the DC area. Our key academic focus is literacy remediation with a daily small group reading intervention at the core of each student's instructional day. We maintain a small student-to-teacher ratio with a maximum class size of 8. Chelsea uses a variety of multisensory methods and modalities to individualize and differentiate instruction for all of our students. At the heart of what Chelsea does and what makes us special is the size of our school and the feeling of intimacy and culture that our school provides. Currently, we have 70 students. Our maximum number of students is about 85. And the relationships that are developed between our students and our staff are truly life-changing and truly remarkable. We have a very diverse school in terms of all levels of diversity, from learning styles to racial background to socioeconomic diversity. We're a very diverse place. And that sort of culture and that positivity of culture is really reflected in our student body. One of the things that we teach our students is to look on their learning differences as a superpower. And that superpower is something that makes them special and unique and gives them a unique perspective on the world. So one of the things they learn about when they come to Chelsea School is what is their learning difference and how does it make them special? And that's something that we try to share across all of our grade levels, 5 through 12, and in preparing students for their next stage, which in most cases for our students is college.
Oh, thank you so much, Frank. That's so helpful. Let's turn next to the Children's Guild School of Prince George's County. Abby Brandt is the principal there. Abby, welcome.
Thank you, and welcome to all the families. I'm excited to get to tell you a little bit about the Children's Guild School of Prince George's County. We are also a nonprofit, non-public school program located in Hyattsville, Maryland, and Prince George's County. We service kids from kindergarten all the way through 12th grade. We have a few different programs. We have a K-8 program servicing students with emotional and behavioral disabilities. And then our autism program actually goes from kindergarten all the way through high school. When you are in high school, we have both diploma and certificate track options for your students. One of the things that really makes our program stand out is the individualization of our curriculum based on your students' needs. We have a variety of curriculum that is based on different levels, whether your student, their disability has autism. We also incorporate sensory breaks and movement breaks. All of our classrooms have different sensory furniture and boxes for students to be able to really make sure that they are prepared and able to access their instruction, as well as an additional sensory room. We really like to make your environment meaningful for your child. So we also have outdoor spaces, including gardens, a pond, and a boat area for the students to really take what they learn from the classroom and apply it to real life. Above and beyond that, we provide every type of service your child could need. We have 3 occupational therapists, we have 3 speech pathologists, and then we have 9 social workers at our school. Social emotional learning is a big part of our program, and all of our students receive, whether they have counseling or not, receive at least once a week group counseling from one of our social workers, where they really focus on life skills and social work skills that are going to help them be productive.
Thank you so much, Abby. Great. Our next panelist, Josh Gwilliam, is the Director of Admission at Commonwealth Academy. Welcome, Josh.
Welcome. Good morning, and welcome to all the families who are with us today. My name is Josh Gwilliam, and I'm the Director of Admission at Commonwealth Academy. Commonwealth Academy is a coeducational college preparatory school for students in grades 3 through 12 with mild to moderate ADHD or learning disabilities. For nearly 25 years, Commonwealth Academy has offered college preparatory academics, embedded executive functioning skills, social emotional learning, and differentiated instruction within a positive, supportive school culture. Respect, honor, trust, and active engagement are fundamentals to a student's success in the classroom and well beyond. I'm excited at the prospect of spending a few minutes with you today, learning more about your child and answering any questions you may have.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Next, we have the Diener School. Lois McCabe is Director of Admissions there. Lois, all yours.
Hi, good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining. So nice to see all of the panelists, and I'm sorry we can't be in person today to meet. I'm Lois McCabe. I'm the Director of Admissions at the Diener School. The Diener School is located in North Bethesda, Maryland, and we are a K through 8th grade school. We serve children who have a variety of different challenges. Our student profile basically would encompass a child who has a speech and language challenge, social pragmatics, executive functioning, attentional challenges, sensory processing. And what really makes Diener unique are a few things. Like some of the other schools that are here presenting, our classrooms are small, and they are a balance of really looking at the social emotional needs of a student. Will they have a peer group? Will they be able to build friendships? And we balance that with what are their academic and cognitive needs, as well as their therapeutic needs. We have children who are on grade level, below grade level, and above grade level, and pretty much could be layered in that. We have small language arts and math groups that are based on skill set. And some of the cornerstones of the Diener program are collaboration with professionals. Everyone who has eyes on your child during the course of the week will be familiar with both their sensory profile, their attentional challenges, their learning needs, their social needs. We have a very multisensory program, very individualized, and all of our children are group learners. And I look forward to hoping to see some of you in our breakout groups after this panel. Thank you for having me.
Excellent. Thanks so much. Next is Fusion Academy. We have Olga Marable, Director of Outreach. Welcome, Olga.
Hi, everybody. So good to be here on a Sunday morning. Thank you for having me. Fusion Academy is a private school, 6th through 12th grade. So we're middle school and high school. And we really cater to the non-traditional learner in a non-traditional school environment. All of our classes are one-to-one. So it's one teacher, one student ratio in our classrooms. And that can be on campus. Actually, we are doing in-person and hybrid as well as a virtual program. Virtual is done through Zoom, so kind of like we're doing today. And we really cater to different types of needs for students, whether it is a mental health transition for them, it could be a learning difference for them, something about a student who's going through a transition. many different needs for students in a one-to-one environment. We also have our famous Homework Cafe, which is a space for students to get their homework done in the middle of the day, but also cater to their social emotional needs, where they socialize with their peers. And it's built into their program and their day, where they are in class for 50 minutes, Homework Cafe for an hour, class for 50 minutes, Homework Cafe for an hour. So it really does balance that 50% academic and 50% social emotional for our students. Students can come to us full-time, part-time, tutoring, credit recovery, acceleration. We have many different offerings for our students, and we do have rolling admissions. So a student could start August 24th, or they can start tomorrow, because whenever they start, that's when their semester starts for them. And we have that flexibility running year round for them.
Thanks so much, Olga. That's wonderful. Good. Next up from the Lab School of Washington, Dr. Bob Lane is here. He's Director of Admissions. Good morning, Bob.
Good morning, Kim. Thank you. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for spending your Sunday morning with us. I'm Bob Lane. I'm the Director of Admissions at the Lab School of Washington. And the Lab School of Washington is located in Northwest DC, just west of Georgetown. We are a day program, college preparatory in nature. We serve students in grades 1 through 12. Our specialty is students with language-based learning differences that are typically diagnosed as an SLD or specific learning disability in reading and or writing, or dyslexia and or dysgraphia. We're celebrating our 53rd year, and a couple things that I think set the Lab School apart is one, our student teacher ratio. We have 380 students across our school and approximately 200 adults who work directly with our students. Of those 200, many are teachers whose expertise and specialty is teaching students with language-based learning differences. We also have teams of professionals in occupational therapy, speech and language. We have psychologists, as well as each division at Lab has a social worker. Another aspect of the Lab School is our program overall and across divisions tends to be highly arts-based. That doesn't mean we're preparing students to go off to art school, but one of the things we recognize in our students is that students with language-based learning challenges typically have strengths in the visual and or spatial domains. And so we work to create opportunities for students to build upon those strengths, discover those strengths, and learn how to apply them in very academic ways. I look forward to hopefully chatting with you all later in our room over at a separate link. So thank you.
Thanks so much, Bob. And our 7th and final panelist is Muriel Jedlicka from the Oakwood School. Muriel is admissions director there.
Good morning, Kim. Thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here. I'm very proud to represent the Oakwood School. We actually are just about to celebrate our 50th anniversary in the middle of a pandemic, but we'll figure out how to do it just like we do everything. Oakwood was founded on the principle of early intervention. We service children in 1st through 8th grade, with our focus being moving to them to a more mainstream environment. The students that we work with are language-based learning disabilities with mild to moderate needs. We service children, much like some of the schools here, with dyslexia, dysgraphia, executive function, ADHD. I think we are in Annandale, Virginia, which is kind of unusual for this group. There's a lot of Maryland and DC schools here, but we are proud to serve Northern Virginia. But we have students from all over, Maryland, Virginia, and DC. As a small day school, there aren't too many schools that do the type of work that we do. What makes us most unique? I'd say, first of all, our staff. We have a highly qualified, highly credentialed, and continually training staff in the field of learning differences. We approach learning from that special education background. Second of all, I think what else makes us most unique is that we meet students academically where they are and move them forward. So remediation of areas of difficulty, challenging them in the areas that they're strong in, and always teaching them compensation strategies. Because as we all know, with a language-based learning disability, there's no magic cure, but certainly if you can teach them those strategies to carry them on, we want all of our students to be lifelong learners. And that's what they will be. They will move forward, they will go on to high school, they will go on to college, and they will be successful. We do believe in that. And finally, I think it's our team approach. It's parents, it's staff, it's any specialist that children are working with, whether it's our speech and language, our OT, or someone outside. We work very collaboratively here. And both as an educator and as an admissions director, I find the value in that for our children. I hope to meet some of you later today in our breakout sessions, and I hope you have a wonderful experience.
Thank you, Muriel, so much. These are 7 great examples of why this is an exceptional schools fair. I'm going to follow up with some questions that we think are likely to be uppermost in a parent's mind when looking for schools. And if I could, Abby from the Children's Guild School of Prince George's County, let me start with you just about why it is so important to find the right school.
Well, I think it's so important to find the right school because the best interest is what is best for your child. So we want to make sure that when you are looking for a school, we will want to make sure that we can actually provide the supports that you truly need that's going to benefit your student to have the most growth possible. We understand with working with individuals with disabilities that they need very, very individualized supports in order to really succeed. And so we want to make sure that when you are trying to find the school, that we have the right supports that are best for you.
Thank you. Thank you. That's great. Muriel, I wanted to come back to you from Oakwood School and just talk about so many parents aren't sure when is the right time to start looking for a school. I wondered if you could address that.
Well, most people are going to look for a school when their child is not being successful in their current academic placement. And parents need to trust their gut about this. They need to know that they probably know their child pretty well. And when you have a child who doesn't want to go to school or isn't confident or is losing interest, it's time to look for something different. Often schools will tell parents to just wait longer. And we feel very strongly that that's not a good idea. If the gap is widening, something is not right. And that's when you need to make a change.
Wonderful. Thanks so much. Wanted to ask Bob from Lab School of Washington questions about testing. What role testing plays in your admissions process, exactly what that involves, and where parents might get testing for their student.
Sure. Well, I think each school may have somewhat different requirements in this way. So first of all, it would be very important to look at that either on their website or ask some questions about that. I think overall, the testing plays an important component in the application process, I would venture, at any school. It gives us the perspective of a professional who's working with the student to help discover not only where they're having challenges, but also what their strengths are. At the lab school, we require testing, full psychoeducational or neuropsychological testing that's no more than 2 years old. However, given the pandemic and the challenges with testing, with the constraints of the pandemic, we're certainly being flexible there. But I think for all of our schools, again, that testing is a perspective that's different than your perspective as a parent, which you get to show through the application. The teachers and other professionals who may currently be working with your student, which is typically kind of gathered through teacher forms or school reports. But that perspective of a psychologist, of a professional who has a lot of experience working with students with learning differences is often very helpful to the school to help the school understand if they are truly equipped or the best place to be the right fit for your child. That testing can be accessed in a couple different places. If you're currently in a public school system and your child has been identified as needing special education support or services, typically that testing's been done as part of that process. The public schools tend to update that testing every 3 years, but that may vary a little bit based on jurisdiction. And you can also get testing from psychologists and neuropsychologists who have independent practices in this area, of which there are many. However, despite the fact that there are so many of them in this area, one of the things we currently hear from parents is that it can be a challenge to get on somebody's list in a timely fashion. So if testing is something you don't have yet and you don't have access to it through the public school, one of the things I would strongly recommend is starting to make phone calls tomorrow to get on somebody's schedule. But again, each school, I just strongly recommend that you speak to the schools you're interested in to find out exactly what they are looking for in that process.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that information. I wanted to invite Lois from the Diener School to give some recommendations to parents who might be overwhelmed about making the decision for the right school or narrowing their focus down to the right group of schools. Can you offer some help in that area?
Sure, Kim. I hope I can be helpful. I've been at the Diener School for 14 years, and I have told pretty much every parent the same thing. Cast a wide net. So when you're looking for a school, you really don't know what the school is like until you can, virtually see it this year or feel it and get an idea of, who they are, what type of kids do they serve, not just on paper or by their website, but really getting to know the admissions directors and getting a real understanding of if this will be a good fit for your child. And I would also say that aside from casting a wide net, I would also tell parents to look at what your child's needs are right now, right? So in terms of children who tend to have learning challenges or layered issues, speech, language, attention, what their challenges might be in second grade might not be the same as in sixth grade. So try to sort of think about where are my child's strengths and where are their challenges and what school can meet their needs for the next few years. And really, we have a phenomenal amount of schools in this area. We are truly, as a parent with a child with special needs myself, I know that with all that we all have, we do have something going for us here by being in the Washington, D.C. area where so many amazing schools are present and work with each other. We all collaborate with each other. This is a panel of professionals who really do know each other's schools and work really, really well with each other, either referring kids to our own schools or referring kids out after they're ready to leave.
Thanks so much.
Sure.
I wanted to turn to Josh from Commonwealth Academy and lob a question to you about executive functioning, how Commonwealth Academy deals with that, and any tips or advice that you might have for parents.
Thank you. Thank you. Great question, Kim. And as the world becomes more and more complex, I think executive functioning skills are going to become more and more at the forefront of part of the educational philosophy that needs to be embedded in a lot of our schools. So there's sort of two pieces, the executive functioning puzzle. There's the social emotional piece, and then there's the academic piece. Commonwealth Academy focuses really on the academic piece. We do see that bleed over in that social emotional. There are other wonderful schools who are here with us today that do both of them. But for us at Commonwealth Academy, its consistency is huge for our students. So regular schedules, no changing schedules, no rotating blocks, no different alternating schedules helps our students. We have a master notebook system, for example, that's embedded throughout the school. So from grade 3 to grade 12, every subject has an assigned colored notebook. They're all divided the exact same way inside, which is absolutely fantastic. We teach our students to use a planner, and it's used every 45 minutes. In the planner, they write their homework, it's signed off by the teacher. It's just this consistent repetition of those skill sets we want our students to learn that really prepares them moving forward. We also use, for example, homework as a time management tool. It's how we teach our students to own and accept the responsibility of their schoolwork. So we give them enough work, especially in our middle school, that they can get it done at school, and we're assisting them breaking breaking down long-term assignments into small chunks. A big portion of really executive functioning skills and learning them is that consistency across the board. It's the routine. It's what I call muscle memory. It's building that structure into who you are. And one of the most beautiful things about that is that it alleviates a lot of the stress and the anxiety around school. So I would ask anybody who's here to really dive into each schools and how they're working with the executive functioning skills to assist students moving forward, and they do change over time. So a much younger student requires a different level of executive functioning skills versus a much older student. As they change and they develop, their needs change. So thank you. Great question.
Great. Thank you, Josh. I want to turn to Frank from Chelsea School and talk a little bit about technology, particularly how it impacts students with learning differences or disabilities.
Well, right now, as you can imagine, it's having an enormous impact on all students, regardless of ability or disability. The last couple of months for us, we've been virtual since March, have really, in one way, they've been very difficult for students with disabilities, and obviously parents at home are probably nodding their heads about how hard it's been. But one of the things for our students that's been wonderful is it really has been a crash course in using technology to meet their needs. And the way that we look at technology, sometimes I'll say to kids, and I was a teacher at Chelsea back when we were using the dial-up modem, and we had the original Kurzweil and all that kind of stuff. I say this is actually a great time in human history to be dyslexic, because right now the technology is starting to quickly adapt to what the needs are of the user. And if our students can quickly adapt to those changing technological platforms, they can really take advantage of it. So we use a number of different platforms at our school. We have a one-to-one Chromebook program that we've had in place for a number of years now. And it was very fortunate because when we closed in March, we were really able to turn on a dime. We only lost 2 days of instruction, and we're able to go right into the virtual school. So we actually were in a good place for that. And part of that was because the kids were so used to using the Chromebooks and using the Google Suite platforms. But what we're doing is we're trying to take advantage of as many of those platforms as possible. So students are not only using Google Docs, but they're using extensions like Google Read and Write to provide text to speech and speech to text for their writing and also for their reading. They're using screen readers. They're really starting to become much more adept at using things that we as professionals have had to adapt to over the last couple of years, such as managing email, using Google Meets and Zoom, really using a calendar to effect. So honing in on some of those executive functioning skills that Josh talked about. Those are some of the things that they've been forced to do really in a significant way during the pandemic. But those were all things that we had in place even in the brick and mortar school. It's just a little bit more heightened now because they must master them in order to survive in the academic world. We look at technology as the great leveler. We really see that technology can level the playing field for students. And so because we know, and everyone on this panel knows, that your ability to read and decode is not equal to your intelligence, we know that those different technology pieces can really level the playing field and give kids access. So what we're trying to do is show them the type of strategies that they can use with technology to be successful, not only in middle school and high school at Chelsea, but throughout their lives as learners, as workers, as entrepreneurs, as community leaders, to continue to use those technology platforms and to really excel because of them.
Thank you, Frank. I have one last question for Olga at Fusion. Wondered if you would speak about getting your students ready for that transition to college and the ways that Fusion does that.
That is a great question. And I think the most important thing to keep in mind is to meet the student where they are, because post-secondary looks different for every student. Some students may want to go off to college. Some students might be going to Ivy League. Some students might be going to a small liberal arts school. Some students might go straight into the workforce or an internship or a gap year. And we want to hone in on that and really celebrate that with the student for what's right for them. We offer 3 separate tracks for students: essential track, college bound, and honors level. And students can mix and match based on different classes for that track as well, for what's most appropriate for them. Part of that also is our life skills class that all students have to take before graduating. And that life skills looks different for students depending on what their post-secondary career is going to look like. For some of them, it might be college readiness. For some of them, it might be independent living. But what's most important is that we instill confidence in our students and self-advocacy. Our teachers go by their first names because it's just like in the workforce. You call all of your colleagues by their first name, whether they're older or younger than you. You learn to speak to them as humans. And so our teachers, our teacher mentors, are seen as that for our students as well. Students learn to enjoy learning again. Many students have been knocked down through their academic careers, felt that they're incapable from their peers, and therefore don't have a post-secondary option. We teach our students to enjoy learning again, that they are capable, that they just have to be met where they are. That sometimes if you don't enjoy reading, but you love golf, let's read a book of an autobiography about a golfer. Let's get you back up to grade level in a way that is interesting to you. And then let's get you back to that level of the rest of your peers. And really connecting with that student, following our love, motivate, teach model of what does that student love? How can we motivate them based on what they love? Now let's jump into the curriculum. This is a skill that students are going to carry on post-secondary. So for the students that do go off to college, they are the ones who are going to be comfortable and confident utilizing their professor's office hours to get more help because they know that resource is available. They're going to start asking questions in class in post-secondary because they're no longer afraid of judgment or denial or that their questions are not of value. This is something that our students just learn the confidence in having. We also do offer post-secondary counseling services for students and ACT, SAT prep. We can even offer and facilitate the ACTs for students who are full-time at our campus. So we really do facilitate what's best for that student, what that post-secondary looks like for them, and we want to launch them to success.
Wow, thank you, Olga. That's great. Such a lot of information in 30 minutes. The conversation isn't over with this, but we hope that it got started. And we want to invite you to visit often the Zoom rooms of some of our partner schools today. And thank you to our panelists for that wealth of information. And thank you to our non-video participants. We hope you got something helpful. So good luck today with the rest of the fair. Thanks so much. My name is Kim Schraff, and I'll be the moderator for this afternoon's panel. And I just want to thank you for joining us on this platform. Just a reminder to our panelists that we are recording this session. And let me just say a very little bit about exceptional schools. You're going to hear much, much more to come. But they are schools that provide educational options to students that have diverse learning needs. You'll be hearing much more about that. You'll also get to meet today 6 representatives from some amazing, exceptional boarding schools. Each of the schools on this panel is a boarding school. Our panel will last approximately 30 minutes. You will hear from each school as to who they are and what services they offer. And then I'll ask a few more targeted questions that we think might be uppermost in the mind of a parent contemplating a boarding school as an independent school option for their child. Something that'll help you both find and select the right school. If you have specific questions, you are invited to visit any of these folks in their individual Zoom rooms later and continue the conversation there. So it's possible that we'll have a couple of schools joining us over the course of the panel, but I thought that we would begin. I don't think we have Brem yet. Is that correct? So why don't we begin with Curry Ingram Academy? Dolly is the Director of Community Engagement there. Would you tell us a little bit about Curry Ingram, please?
Yes, Kim, I'd be happy to. My name is Dolly Roach, and I am the Director of Community Engagement at Curry Ingram Academy, and we are located just south of Nashville in the suburb of Brentwood. We've been around for 52 years, actually on our current campus since 2002, and we serve students in grades kindergarten through 12th grade who struggle in some way with learning differences. Kind of our mission, again, is both a day and boarding program, though I will mention our boarding program is brand new. So we have our first boarders here on campus in a brand new residence hall that started in August. So again, it is a brand new program for us. But we serve our students with small class sizes, evidence-based instruction. All of our students have an individualized learning plan. We have a strong arts, athletics, and extracurricular activities. We also have on-site speech language therapist, occupational therapist, and we focus a lot, in addition to supporting students academically, also supporting students for social emotional needs as well as executive function needs. We have found that, our studies have shown that students who are coming out of high school really struggle at times. Maybe their academic needs are met, but their social emotional needs, their executive function skills are lacking. And actually, it's those skills that employees as well as colleges are finding that are so important just in life in general. So not only do we support students with learning differences academically, but also support them in those two ways as well. Again, we're located just south of Nashville, which I think is a big perk for us. We are just really 15 to 20 minutes to downtown Nashville. And also we've got our international airport. So it's a great place to come and visit. I'd welcome y'all to come and visit if you have interest in our school. And it's also a great program for our Res Life students, and that they really can take advantage of everything that Nashville has to offer. So that's about it for Curry Ingram.
Oh, thanks so much, Dolly. That's wonderful. Let's turn to Eagle Hill School. Dana Harbert is here. He's the Director of Admissions there. And Dana, welcome.
Thank you very much, Kim. It's nice to be here, and it's always nice to participate in this school fair. I enjoy being in Washington, but I'm happy to do it this way this year. Eagle Hill School is a school for students with learning differences and attention deficit disorder, and we're in the center of Massachusetts. We're probably about an hour and a half from Boston. We're between, if you know Massachusetts, we're between Amherst and Worcester in the Pioneer Valley. And we work with students in grades 8 through 12, with the majority of our students starting in grades 9. We have a small 8th grade class, usually of about 10 to 15 students, and the remainder of our students are 9th through 12th graders. So 210 students. We have 199 boarding students, and we this year have 11 day students. That day student number can vary depending on the year. 40% of our students are female, 60% of our students are males, and they live in a variety of different dorms on campus. We work with students, as I said, with language-based learning disabilities in general. So language-based learning disabilities, especially a significant reading disability, learning disability in reading, writing, and math, as well as working with students who have executive function difficulties and attention deficit disorder, the inattentive type. We also are able to work with students who have slower processing speed, if you were to look at their cognitive profile, or who have weaker working memory subtest scores. I would say Eagle Hill School, what makes us different? We have a number of things that make us different. Our ratio is probably similar to many schools, but it's 6-to-1 student-teacher ratio in the classroom. In the dorms, our ratio is 18-to-1. We have dorm counselors who work in the dorms. They do that as their job. They work every day from 3 o'clock in the afternoon to 11 o'clock in the evening. So we have a student life curriculum, as well as having an academic year or a educational curriculum. And we also have a 9-term year, which is unique. I think there's only one other school that has that in this area at least. So having 9 terms allows us really to tailor a student's schedule to that student's needs. And when we work with students and we accept them, we help families to choose the courses that a student's going to take, and then that all gets put into a schedule. Advisors help with that. Every student here has an advisor. I'd also say, you know, when you think about Eagle Hill area, about school in general, for us, you know, me in the admission office, I'm really talking to parents a lot of times about the academics and what it is that makes us, what differentiates us academically. But at the same time, I think it's also important to note that for students, they're interested in the other 8 hours of the day from 3 o'clock until 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock at night when they go to bed. So we offer a rich afternoon and evening curriculum involving sports, theater, the arts, all kinds of arts, from woodworking to studio art and music, chorale. We do 3 plays a year. So I think for people interested in a wide range of, in a wide variety, I suppose, of activities at a school, we would be able to offer that. Also, we're a college prep school, and we have international baccalaureate classes and the international baccalaureate diploma program for juniors and seniors. And I think we're the only school that does that in the country. So I hope that people will feel free to touch base with me and in my room. Thank you.
That's fantastic, Dana. Thank you so much.
Sure, thank you.
Let's turn now to Foreman School. Jamie Feynman is here, the Director of Admission at Foreman. Hi, Jamie.
Hi, guys. Hi, welcome. I too love this fair. I love coming to DC, so I'm a little bummed to have to do it through the computer, but it's nice to meet everyone virtually. Foreman is a language-based LD school for kids who have language-based LDs and or ADHD and executive function deficits. We are located in Litchfield, Connecticut. So we're sort of in the northwest corner of Connecticut, about 2 hours from New York City and 2.5 hours from Boston. We serve, so we have 9th through 12th grade for our students, and a very small PG program. It's anywhere from 2 to 6 kids every year, which is for students who've graduated from other high schools and are taking a year and spending a year with us before going off to college. 100% of our students do go off to 4-year universities, so we're very much a college prep school. Our average class size for freshmen and sophomores is about 6 to 8, and juniors and seniors, it's about 10 to 12. And that's because every year, while we take the majority of our students coming in are freshmen, we'll take 10 to 15 new sophomores and 10 to 15 new juniors, so our class sizes grow a little bit purposely. And the way our program works is 100% of our students are diagnosed with a language-based LD or ADHD. And our academic classes are traditional academic classes, college prep with honors levels, as well as the traditional level. And then the same way you have a math department and a science department and a history department that every student takes a class in, we have something called the Cognition and Learning Department. And every single student takes a class in the Cognition and Learning Department that is tailor-made to their specific needs. Those classes are much smaller. It's 1 to 3 students with a teacher. And so depending on what your learning profile is, you'll be placed in a class. So the class could be reading for students who have dyslexia, but there might be reading decoding, or there might be reading comprehension, totally different classes. It could be executive function coaching, metacognitive strategies, which is really learning how you learn. And students may take one or all of these classes throughout the time of their time at Foreman. So we're able to really do some really targeted skills-based instruction in a much more individualized way. And all our classes meet for 75 minutes. So even if you are with another 3 students or another 2 students in your classroom, you're still getting a lot of really personalized personalized attention for your learning challenges. We are co-ed. We are 60% boys, 40% girls, and we have about 15 dorms on campus. We are 90% boarding and about 10% day students. We have been in person since late August. I'm going to knock on wood. No COVID yet. So we have to get the kids to Thanksgiving break, about a week and a half away. We're hoping to keep that going. And so our students have been and usually have about 26 different sports offerings throughout the year. This year it's looked a little bit different with a lot more lawn games than I would have expected and a lot more creative. We just did our own haunted house because the kids couldn't go off campus to the haunted house we normally go to. So that was pretty fun and engaging. But there's so much I could share about Foreman, and I look forward to meeting all of you in the rooms later, but I will turn it back over to everyone else. I'll talk to you all soon.
Thank you, Jamie. It's wonderful. Douglas, let's turn to the Gow School. Douglas Cotter is Director of Admissions there, and we're happy to have you.
All right, Kim, thank you very much and welcome. My name is Doug Cotter. I'm the Director of Admissions at the Gow School in South Wales, New York, and I'm very excited to be chatting with all of you guys today to share a little bit of information about the school to you. So we are a boarding school for kids with dyslexia and language-based learning disabilities. We're located in a little town called South Wales, New York. We're in the western end of New York State. We're about 45 minutes south of Niagara Falls and about a half an hour south of the Buffalo International Airport. We're small this year. We're currently about 135 students. Most years we're closer to 160 students, but due to COVID, we're a little bit smaller this year. We have a 4-to-1 student to teacher ratio. So all of our classes are small. As a matter of fact, our class size is no larger than 6 students per class, but given the ratio between the teachers and the students, it works out to actually 4-to-1. A little bit about our faculty. They are what we call triple threat in the boarding school world. That means they teach, they coach, and they run the dorms. So our faculty work with your children from the time they wake up in the morning to the time they're going to English class or Algebra 1 class, or if they're out playing lacrosse, or if they're in the girls volleyball team or soccer, their coach is also their Algebra 1 teacher, their English teacher, their math teacher, or their dorm parent. We know when they're having a good day. We know when they're having a bad day. We know when we can push a little bit harder. We know when we're like, ooh, let's come down and have a little bit of a slower day. And that's one of the benefits of having our faculty be triple threat. We are traditional college prep. All of our students do go on to a school, college or university that's appropriate for them. I'd love to say everyone's going to go to Harvard or Yale or Georgetown or American University, where we're normally hosting this event. But unfortunately, our kids go to schools that are appropriate for their needs. We're very hands-on in the admissions process, making sure that the students that we take into the school are dyslexic, have language-based learning disabilities, ADHD, dysgraphia, dyscalculia, disorder of written expression, kind of the whole umbrella of language-based learning disabilities. And the same thing when we push them off to the tertiary level of education, we want to make sure that the schools that they go to are appropriate, not only just for their, the learning, for the program that they're looking to study in, but also that the academic profile is there to support them. Charlie Brown, that's the name of our college counselor, and that is his real name, honestly. He was very hands-on in the process. He actually won't recommend a school until he's actually physically gone there and inspected the support program at the school to make sure it matches up with the kids that we'll send there. In the end, our goal is to get kids prepared, not only just to give them the skills to get into college, but also to stay there and to finish. A little bit more about the school. So we're small, we're about 135 kids this year. We are co-ed, we're grades 6 through 12. We have approximately 20% girls, 80% boys. We are only in our 7th year of boarding girls on campus, so it's still a relatively new program. New to us, the faculty, all the kids have been there. We've always been a co-ed school. It's just changing the program a little bit more to adapt to their needs. We have a heavy concentration and focus on science, math, and engineering. We have an engineering lab on campus where we build 2 of our own robots each and every year. We build 59 kilo robots, which works out to be about 120 pounds. And we go out to Palo Alto every April to compete with people from Google and other people in the Silicon Valley. We do fairly well with it. We do end up sending about 1/3 of our graduates into engineering and technical classes or technical areas of study each year. A little bit more about the school. We're on 100 acres of rolling hills south of Buffalo, New York. It is absolutely beautiful here in Western New York today. It's about 65 degrees and sunny. I wish I could say it happened like that, or it was like that all year long. Buffalo does have a reputation for getting something. It's called snow. We actually get a lot of it in the winter, about 120 inches, but we never close because we're a boarding school and we have 150 snow shovels, so we can dig our way out of anything. Furthermore, it's Western New York. We embrace winter, so we have an active winter athletic program, whether it's skiing and snowboarding or racing in a recreational program or a competitive racing program. And we're about to switch into our winter athletics, which consists of basketball, wrestling, squash, in addition to the skiing and snowboarding program. Kids are in a boarding school. It's really important to get the kids outside, get some fresh air and sunshine in them each and every day. Otherwise, the dorms are kind of chaotic at night. So we really think athletics and activities are very, very important. We have a very structured day from the time the kids are in classes in the morning through athletics, through activities, through evening study hall, which is required for students, and that's from 7 to 9 p.m. and that's Sunday through Friday. Ooh, one of the bad things about the Gao School I forgot to mention, we have Saturday classes. Saturday classes are not fun. I normally don't like going to work on Saturday, but we realize that's about 34 days a year that we don't have to be in school. So that gives us longer breaks in a normal year in October, November, December, March, February, and March. This year, as with Foreman, we've been lucky, knock on wood, no COVID cases, and we're getting ready to spin our kids out for an extended break starting 2 weeks from today. We're looking to have them come back on January 11th for a 4-week bubble where no one leaves campus so we can get ready for the next semester. Looking forward to chatting with any of you in our room later on today. Once again, Doug Cotter from the Gao School in South Wales, New York. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Doug. Great. Welcome to Claire Cohen. Claire's from Shepherd Pratt Schools, and tell us about you. She's regional director there, and tell us about the Shepherd Pratt Schools. Claire.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to see everybody and to be part of this. So yeah, I'm one of the 2 regional directors for the Shepherd Pratt Schools. We have 13 programs across the state of Maryland. 7 of the programs are standalone special education day schools, and 5 of the programs are what we call type 2 special education programs, where we have programs located within the public schools. And so our students are receiving services both from us and from the public school system simultaneously. And then we have 1 residential treatment center, residential school and treatment center, which is located in Towson, Maryland, which is in Baltimore, suburb of Baltimore. And that's the program that I'll be speaking about in this panel. That program has about 45 residents currently, co-ed, and they're located on a sort of sprawling campus in Towson, Maryland, but it's co-located with our psychiatric hospital and a lot of our other services that Shepherd Pratt provides. We have 24-hour psychiatry and nursing available, counseling, speech and language therapy, occupational therapy, physical therapy if needed. And then we have a diploma track education program that all of our students are on a diploma track, and they're all middle and high school age students, so 12 to 21. And while our students are working towards their high school diploma and taking all of the course credits that they would need in any school setting, they typically don't stay for the whole high school experience. So it's a little bit more transient. And most of our residents are placed through Department of Social Service or Department of Juvenile Services. Some are privately placed or placed through an attorney, but generally they're mostly through DSS and DJS.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you, Claire. And we have a 6th and final panelist. Hi, Jeremy. Jeremy Robbins, head of school from Brehm Preparatory School. Welcome.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I am the head of school at Brehm Prep. We are located in Carbondale in Southern Illinois, about 2 hours drive from St. Louis. Brehm was founded in 1982 by a family, the Brehm family, in order to provide a boarding school experience for families in the Midwest. Of course, we do have families from the Midwest, as well as families from the East Coast, the South, the West Coast, as well as international. We are small, as many of the schools are here, although we're probably a bit smaller. We currently have 42 students enrolled in our preparatory school program, as well as 31 students in a post-high school transition program we call Options, Transitions to Independence. Now, our mission is to empower students with learning disabilities and differences to recognize and optimize their potential throughout their lives. Like many of the schools, of course, we serve students with language-based learning differences. We also serve students who have a nonverbal learning disorder diagnosis. Probably about 1 in 4 of our students. About 1 in 3 of our students have an autism spectrum diagnosis, as well as students who have anxiety or depression as the challenges that they face. Among our population in grades 6 through 12, including a postgraduate, what we call a super senior year, 60% of our students are boys, 40% are girls. And though we have several day students, primarily we are a boarding school, 85% of our students. Our students go on to attend colleges or vocational or technical programs. Here in Carbondale, we have some students who go to Southern Illinois University at Carbondale, as well as students who go to colleges and universities around the country. And in many cases, of course, programs that serve students who have a particular learning challenges or diagnosis of learning differences. I'd like to tell you a little bit more about Options Transitions to Independence, which is a program that is an outgrowth of the preparatory school and provides supports for academics, vocational pursuits, social emotional learning for students who have completed a high school diploma. Our students, some of them pursue a track that allows them to take classes at a 2-year college right here in Southern Illinois, John A. Logan, or a 4-year college at Southern Illinois University at Carbondale. Not all of our students pursue degree-bearing programs in Options. For some, they choose to elect internship or paid employment tracks. Probably about 25% of our students who attend Brem Preparatory School for their high school will go on and join Options for that additional support with their transition to independence. Now back to the high school program, we have a holistic model, which means that all of our students receive an IHEP, or an individual holistic education plan, which includes, of course, the academics, social emotional learning, the physical education, as well as our boarding program. We are an Illinois State Board of Education approved school, meaning we have students who are placed by their school districts. We also have students who are funded by school districts from out of state as well. All of our students receive a holistic education program. For many includes speech and language. Probably about 3/4 of our students also receive clinical supports for social emotional learning. That can include working with a social worker, psychologist. We have an affiliation with the psychology department here in Southern Illinois at Carbondale. And we also have students, about 1/3 of our students who work directly with a psychiatrist, in particular for those who have med management needs. Our program allows our students to enjoy the beauty of the natural resources that are here in Southern Illinois that include the lakes, as well as the Shawnee National Forest with ample hiking trails and opportunities for biking. Of course, for all of our schools, as we've pivoted our programming in order to provide a program within health and safety considerations as a result of the pandemic, our program has emphasized activities and programs we can safely do on our campus. Within our high school, we are also proud to say that we've remained COVID-free. It's our goal to continue on in that way. I do want to note within our Options program, we have had a positive case. And while that is unfortunate, it also is a sign of the planning and careful preparations that we've made that we're able to contain that case and respond accordingly and appropriately to support that student and that student's family, as well as keep everyone else safe. I do look forward to sharing more information, of course, about our preparatory school and the Options program, and look forward to seeing you in our chat room. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Jeremy. We have a little bit of time. We have about 10 minutes before we have another panel. And I'd like to try to highlight some of the most common questions that parents might have that might be a prelude to the conversation you have afterwards. And Dolly, I wanted to turn to you from Curry Ingram School and ask you to address the question of when is the right time to start looking for a new school for your child?
Yeah, I think anytime you might have interest in a school, reaching out to the admission office is always very important, even if it's just to gain preliminary information. We live in a digital world now, and so often families, of course, are first going to our website to learn more about us. But being able to speak to someone in the admission office, specifically, number one, about admission deadlines. Here at Curry Ingram, we have rolling admission, which means we really can accept students throughout the school year, so long as we have space, not just in the grade, but in that specific language arts class or math class that child may need based on their learning profile. And so again, reaching out to ensure that there isn't a specific admission deadline, depending on when you might be looking to enroll your child, whether or not that's January or a fall start. Also understanding too, what are the requirements? We require a psychoeducational evaluation as part of our admission. And those typically are updated about every 3 years. If a family comes in and doesn't have one, especially right now in the age of COVID, sometimes getting that scheduled and getting that report completed can take a couple of months. So understanding what are those requirements to me are really important, so that when you do look to apply, you've kind of got your ducks in a row, so that then the school can take that information and can proceed as needed.
Thanks, Dolly. Terrific. We wanted to ask about some of the elements that make boarding school a particularly good option. And Douglas from the Gow School, I wonder if you could speak to that for us.
Absolutely, Kim. Thank you very much for asking. One of the benefits that kids get or gain from going to a boarding school is the independent living skills that they will need when they're off in college or university. Not only is it just learning how to manage their time, do their laundry, clean their room, make their bed, do all those basic things that somebody might remind them to do at home. But at boarding school, they get the opportunity to do it as an independent learner. But it's where in the classroom is where they really gain the skills, self-advocacy, understanding their own learning profile, and how to advocate for themselves, and how to, more importantly, how to put themselves in a position that's a setup for success. These are some of the skills that we instill in our students at the Gow School, and I know with all the other schools that are on the panel today. The living alone, being away from mom and dad at age 14, 15, or 16 is not what most American families are expecting. Families are kind of reaching out to us because we offer the special services that their kids need. And a lot of times we can provide the remediation at the secondary level. So when they get to a tertiary level of education, they understand their own learning profile. They can explain it to those around them. They can advocate for themselves. They can go into their professors or their TAs or their GAs with the ability to say, hey, I don't understand how to make this sentence work, or how I'm trying to do this PowerPoint and I can't get this past this point, or what have you. Having that, the intimate connection you get with teachers and faculty in a boarding school reduces or increases the level of comfort of our students to approaching academics for help and for assistance, because prior to their experience at our school or any other boarding schools on the panel, teachers were maybe looked at as an adversary of the students, that they were out to punish them or make them do more work. Whereas when the kids are at Gow, they realize, or at the other boarding schools as well, they realize that the faculty are there to help the students and to help them through the process. And so when they get to college or university, they're not looking at the professors as a taskmaster, but as somebody as more of a coach or a mentor to guide them through the academic process to get to the level that they want to get to, and that their skills can get them to.
Wonderful. Thank you, Doug. Thank you,
Doug.
Thank you. Good. Jamie, I wonder if you would speak to the issue of financial aid, such a big concern for so many parents. Jamie's from the Foreman School.
Sure, yeah. So I think just about all of us are on the same page in that we do offer financial aid, and we offer need-based financial aid. So it's not merit-based, and it's not scholarship or academics or athletics, but it is based on a family's need, a demonstrated need. So I know most schools use SSS. I know that's what Foreman uses, which is an outside company that takes in all the information for us and then kind of helps us determine what that level of need is. Most schools are going to require your W-2s from the current tax year, your tax returns, and for you to fill out the parent financial statement, which really just gives us a sense of the financial situation of every family coming in. You know, I don't know, I can't speak for every school about ability to meet need. We cannot meet 100% of a family's needs. So we do try to do the best we can and try to make Foreman affordable, but there are definitely limitations. And there, for us, I know everyone has slightly different deadlines, and that's one of the first things you should really look at when you're talking to the admissions office at the school, because while I think probably all of us are rolling admissions, we do have a special deadline for financial aid applications, because at some point you have to make some final decisions there, and it becomes very much first come, first serve. So for us, it's February 15th. A student must have applied by February 15th for financial aid, and they already must be accepted to the school before I'm going to consider a financial aid application. So even though I would normally say, oh, there's no deadlines, there are always going to be some kinds of deadlines with financial aid. And so that's a really important question to ask every admission office. And then it's also important to ask if there's any other documentation they want. Some schools want several years of tax returns. Some schools will will want you to wait until the current year's tax returns are completed. Whereas I start with a W-2 for that current year, knowing that my financial aid deadline is February 15th, and many families don't have their tax returns done yet. So there are going to be those slight differences among schools. But every school is going to do their best. You know, our goal is to bring kids in, not to keep kids out. And so we are going to do everything we can to make sure that your child can attend. And we will work with you. And it's always, financially, it should always be a conversation. So feel free, don't hesitate to ask us any questions. Everyone in admissions, you know, we're always eager to help families make it more realistic for them.
Thank you, Jamie. We're in the slightest crunch. We have about 5 minutes. I want to be sure to get to the 3 remaining panelists. Dana from Eagle Hill School, in this high-tech moment, could you say some things about the impact of technology on students with diverse learning needs?
Yes, I think technology helps a lot as far as helping students learn. We have a class, an assistive technology class that students can take at our school that kind of is going to give them kind of a broad range of all that's available if they're interested in using assistive technology. Every student here, of course, is going to be using a computer. There are many different programs that students will use, from speech to text to Learning Ally to Grammarly, to help correct their grammar. And really, we use it as a tool actually to help students, because it helps to level the playing field for students. So if students are more familiar with using technology, it's only going to be to their advantage to be able to do that. Here, our internet turns off at 10 o'clock for younger students, 11 o'clock for older students. We encourage students to embrace technology and to use it. Our reading tutorials, they allow students to do some of their reading by listening, during their free time. So we really embrace technology.
Thank you, Dana. A question that a lot of parents have, Claire, has to do with educational advocates or lawyers. And we wanted to invite you to talk about when those might be needed and used for your students.
So, I mean, I think it's always ideal to go through the school system and attempt to get funding for services if you can do it that way. And then I think when you feel that you've exhausted those routes, would be a time to consider talking with an advocate or an attorney in terms of receiving higher level services for students.
Terrific. Thank you. And one last question before we continue the conversation in the other rooms. Jeremy, how at Brem Prep do you get your kids ready to transition to college?
Our students work closely with a transition coordinator who facilitates, of course, the college guidance and college planning process, but also looks at the student's holistic education plan as a way to identify, ultimately, the transition to being successful in life. Now, as I mentioned, we have a program called Options. There are programs that provide specific supports to making that transition. For some students, those are really crucial in order to ensure success in both the college or university setting or paid employment. But for every student, ultimately, it comes down to understanding one's own strengths, recognizing when to advocate for oneself and what resources there are, and building relationships with others who help to really achieve and identify what those next steps and areas of success will be. So for our students at BREM, ultimately it comes down to what we reflect in our mission is really recognizing and optimizing one's potential.
Thank you so much. Well, you can see why this is an exceptional schools fair. These have really been exceptional boarding schools, and I thank you all for the wealth of information. As I said, the dialogue's not over now. We hope it's just beginning. Please visit the Zoom rooms for these particular schools. And we have another panel at the ready that we're about to start. So I thank you so much for contributing today. And I wish you well the rest of the fair and the rest of your years.
Thank you, Kim.
Thank you very much, Kim. Did a great job. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, guys.
We're going to begin. So welcome everyone to the 14th annual Exceptional Schools Fair and our very first virtual edition of it. Thank you for joining us on this platform. I'm Kim Schraff, and I'll be moderating today's panel. And just a reminder to our panelists that we're recording this session. Let me say just something about how we define an exceptional school. They are ones that provide educational options to students with diverse learning needs. And today you're going to get to meet 6 amazing exceptional schools. Our panel will last about 30 minutes, and you will hear from the representative from each of those schools to get a feel for the program and the place. And then I'll follow up with some of the questions that we think might be uppermost in parents' minds to help you select a school or even just find a school. We hope that will be the beginning of a conversation that you can continue in the Zoom rooms for each individual school. So I think without further ado, we'll just jump in. And Marcia Miller from the Nora School, Marcia is Director of Admissions there. Would you kick us off?
I would be happy to. Thank you so much. Welcome, everybody. Thanks so much for joining our panel. I represent the Nora School. We are an intentionally small college prep high school. One of my favorite things to say is that we are lower pressure college prep. We do teach to a wide variety of learning styles. We feel relatively mainstream, yet there are more accommodations. It's a very accommodations-friendly school. We know that each student learns differently, and with no more than 12 students in a classroom, we get to know those students really well and kind of figure out how they learn as we go along, and pretty quickly. So while we're not a learning needs schools, specialty type of school, we definitely take a lot of students from a diverse learning background. And so while we are still college prep, we can go from Algebra 1 all the way to advanced calculus and chemistry and biology all the way to advanced biochem. We have a lot of different paths for our students. For instance, if you're not an advanced calculus type of student, we have business math and financial algebra. Our social justice programs have been in place for many years. So our students are asked to learn deeply, more personally, and they delve into these topics with more critical thinking. When they go to college, they often report back saying that they know more than many of their peers because they remember it and they cogitated it more deeply. And so they feel very confident and ready for college. We are in Silver Spring, Maryland, and close to the district line, inside the Beltway, very easy to get to. Our grades and ages are, we are a high school, grades 9 through 12. Our thinking differently is our motto, and it has been for a long time. So I look forward to hearing from you. You can stop by our booth. You can also find us on our website at noraschool.org. Thank you.
Thank you, Marcia. Great. Ron McLean is the head at Parkmont School. Welcome, Ron. Please tell us about Parkmont.
Hey, Kim, were you supposed to say our first and last Zoom conference because
Oh, well,
we'll be living in another world, we hope, at some point soon. Parkmont is a small school of 65 students in grades 6 through 12. We're located in a 110-year-old house on 16th Street near Carter Barron, just below Military Road. We're in the midst of our 49th year. We have a long history of working with students with learning differences, attention challenges, struggles with executive function, and others with degrees of anxiety, depression, and spectrum involvement, and providing those students with a relational support system that builds confidence and morale. We've always run a program that is very active, lots of hands-on learning, field trips, adventure trips, including to Alaska, the Grand Canyon, the Everglades. And it also includes a year-round internship program that gets our students all around town and gives them a resume by the time they finish with high school. Our students work in multi-grade classrooms with 8 to 10 students and with staff who are experts at differentiating expectations and ways of delivering content, and also experts at encouraging kids. And we'd be very happy to talk to any of you who have kids who are approaching the 6th through the 12th grades. Nice to
thanks,
be here.
Ron. Thanks so much. Good. We'll hear next from Mark Hajar, Education Director at Shepherd Pratt Schools. Hi, Mark.
Hi, how you doing?
Great.
So I am representing all of our Shepherd Pratt schools. We have 7 day schools, 5 type 2s, which are non-publics located in public school buildings. And then we have 1 residential treatment facility. So our schools are located all across Maryland. Mainly, we have a school in PG, 1 in Montgomery County, a couple up in Baltimore. Yeah, so we're non-public schools. Our students are placed at Shepherd Pratt schools through the IEP process. We do have some private pay, but it's mostly publicly funded students. And we serve the range of disabilities, mainly students with emotional disabilities or autism spectrum disorders. But we also serve students with other health impairment, ADHD, those types of things, some specific learning disabilities. And we serve students in grades 1st all the way through 12th. And some of the students are on diploma tracks, while others are seeking a certificate of completion. So pretty much the whole range of student needs.
Thank you, Mark. Great. Becca Atkinson is Director of Admissions at the Siena School. Welcome, Becca.
Hi there. Good afternoon. Thank you for being here today. I want to just dive in, and I like to do Siena by the numbers, get people some real information and data. Siena is a mission-focused school, so that means we are only accepting and working with students who have language-based diagnoses. So our one of our slogans is dyslexia, our mission and motivation. So we really focus on that kind of population. One reason we do that is because we want our kids to be 100% understood. So that's the first launch. I go into numbers. Then I'm going to jump into the millions, and let's talk about millions and what they mean with Siena. One thing is that last year we awarded $1.1 million in financial aid money to our families. 40% of our families received that. That is a very significant amount. And so we definitely say if the need is there, please come and apply. We really want to help families make Siena a possibility. Last year, seniors, another millions, here we go. Senior class, there was 12 of them in our senior class last year. They were awarded $1.9 million in merit-based scholarship money. That is outstanding. That is a college paying our students to come. So those are the millions. Let's jump into your percentages really quick. 100% of the students in 4th grade through 8th grade have a daily reading class. There are no pullouts at Siena. We do not do that. It is incorporated right in. Okay, so 100% of the kids, 4th grade through 8th grade, are in a reading class every single day. 70% of Siena teachers, here we go, commitment, have been at Siena School for 5+ years. 70%. That's outstanding. The other 30-some% have been at Siena for 10+ years. So we're only 15 years old. Lots of numbers I'm throwing out here, guys. But that is outstanding commitment of our staff to these to our students for sure. The other one is 38% of our students identify as a person of color. So we really, our school reflects where we live. It's really outstanding. And then I'm going to wrap it up really quickly here. We're a school that we call ourselves Great Minds Learn Alike here. So we are very much a like-minded community. And my students, they all love Star Wars, Legos, like anything they can build, construct, create, design. That is definitely who they are. But the last one is, how do you take the Siena tuition and potentially make it a medical expense? If you would like to learn about that, or even just how schools and tuitions and testing and things can potentially qualify as a medical expense, stop on over to my Zoom room. I have a video there. I'd love to share it to just make you have that knowledge about what could potentially be a possible medical exemption, and the Siena tuition does potentially qualify for that. So thank you.
Thanks so much, Becca. Let's hear from Nancy Rhodes about the Summit School, where she's Director of Admissions.
Hi, thank you so much, Kim. Thank you so much for having us today. I don't know if this is Summit's first time at the Exceptional Schools Fair, but it is mine, and I'm really enjoying being in everyone's presence. I'm representing the Summit School today. We are located in Edgewater, Maryland, which is central between Baltimore and DC and about 10 miles south of Annapolis. We serve students grades 1 through 8 who are bright students with learning differences. Specifically language-based learning differences. We have students with dyslexia, also dyscalculia, executive function skills as well. We have just about over 100 students at this time. We maintain our low student to teacher ratio. We have approximately 4 students for every teacher, small class sizes, and we just celebrated our 30th year. I think one thing that makes Summit really unique is our faculty's dedication to our families and our students, really going above and beyond. Our teachers are always accessible. They work really long hours, even longer now in COVID, as I'm sure we all do. But really just any way that they can provide to our students and to our families, both remotely and in person, and they're just smart and very passionate people. So please join me over in we actually have a Google Meet room. Please join me over there after this if you're interested in learning more. And thank you again.
It's wonderful. Thanks, Nancy. We have a 6th school on the panel, and that is Wye River Upper School. And Tracy Spence is here to talk about Wye River. Hi, Tracy.
Thanks, Kim.
Sure.
Good afternoon. My name is Tracy Spence, and I'm the fairly new Director of Admissions and Communications at Wye River Upper School. I joined there about a month and a half ago, and so it's really nice to see everyone in the panel today and the different panels. But I do want to talk a little bit about Wye River this afternoon. We are a small independent college prep high school. We're located on the eastern shore of Maryland in a town by the name of Centerville, which is fairly close to the Chesapeake. Wye River was founded by a special educator, and the reason she founded Wye River was because her son did have some learning differences, and when it came time for him to attend high school, she was having trouble finding a suitable school for him. So right now we have been in existence for about 20 years, and we currently work with students who learn differently, but also students who seek to connect more deeply with their peers and adults in different ways. And we've been very successful in meeting these needs by serving kids who let me mention, I don't think I mentioned this, but we are a high school, and we do serve kids that are in 9th through 12th grades. So we do this by working with the kids who have learning differences and learning challenges such as ADD, ADHD, dyslexia, some language-based differences. Some of our kids are on the spectrum, executive function challenges, and anxiety. So again, we do serve kids in grades 9 through 12, and a lot of these kids are, they've been in larger environments, and we have a smaller environment that we can offer them, and kind of more nurturing and a one-on-one relationship with their teachers. So what makes us different? Right now, we're the only high school on the Eastern Shore that primarily serves the kids in need of, or kids that do have learning differences. So again, we do work with the kids and the students as individual. We tailor learning plans to their specific needs, and we do a lot of experiential learning as well as student-driven projects. We feel it's very important for the kids to have a say as much as possible in some of their learning that they're experiencing. We are also really adamant about following our mission. So it is kind of a two-way street with admissions, in the respect that we want to make sure that the kids that are coming to Wye River are a good fit for us, as well as having the kids feel like they are going to fit into the school, that's the appropriate choice for them. So it really is a kind of a twofold process at this point. And will continue to be that way as far as I know. Currently, we're working on a hybrid schedule. We have kids, 9th and 10th grade students in school on Mondays and Tuesdays, and 11th and 12th grade students in school on Wednesdays and Thursdays, and then kind of a rotating schedule on Friday. So we've been COVID-free, knock on wood, and hope that continues. So that's really all I have about Wye River at this point, but I do hope that the attendees will be able to join us in our Zoom room after this, I believe after this panel is finished. And thank you so much for your time, and thank you, Kim.
Thank you, Tracy. Wonderful. We have a little bit of time left, and we've got some questions that we anticipate parents might have. And I thought I'd take them from questions with a broader focus down to a narrower focus. And Nancy, if it's okay, Nancy's from Summit School, perhaps you could give some perspective on when you should start looking for a school. How do you know when the moment is right?
Sure. Sorry, something just popped up there. So we feel that it's important for families to start looking when their child starts to lose that love of learning and starts to really have difficulty and that the school is unable to meet the needs. So it's important that there's a transparent and good communication between the parents and the schools about the child's needs. And if they are unable to meet that child's needs, then it's time perhaps to start exploring other options. I smile because I think back to when my own children were younger and started school and how excited they were. And when they're really, really loving school, and we want to just see that as long as possible. School should be fun. And so when we start to see students that are really, they hate reading, they hate math, perhaps they start to see other signs of, depression or anxiety when going to school because it's so hard for them. And then they're starting to learn that they can't keep up with their peers. It's probably beneficial for the child then to start to have a conversation about moving on to other environments for them.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Nancy. That sort of leads to my next question that I'd love for you to address, Tracy. And that's the question of why it's so important to find the right fit, to find just the right school. And again, Tracy's from Wye River Upper School. Need to unmute. This is our lives right now. Yeah, mute, unmute.
Thank you. So that is a really, really good question, Kim, and one that I'd like to address. I think it's important to find the right school. And again, as I said, Wye River is very adamant about making sure that we're a good fit for the kids and the kids are a good fit for us. So I think that's one thing that parents need to look at. I think attending this fair is a really good first step because parents can kind of see what is out there and what is going to be the correct thing for their, for their children. So again, at White River, we are very adamant about making sure that the kids are a good fit. One way we do this is we make sure that, we can address the kids' academic needs, but also, make sure that we're able to accommodate, making them feel good and, really look at their well-being as, part of that. So I think one good word of advice that someone shared with me is to consider what the schools have to offer, not what they lack, because a lot of times you're not going to find everything you're looking for in a school. So, if you can, look at those things that are most important to you.
Excellent. Thanks, Tracy. Wanted to turn to Siena School and Becca and invite you to talk a little bit about the task of finding a school virtually, at least for the current moment and maybe for the last time ever. But for now, how do you go about doing that?
Oh, no, I'm happy to talk about that. I think there's definitely two different sides to looking at a school. There's the school presenting themselves virtually as much as possible. And then families, the other side of that is families looking at schools virtually. I think the big takeaway that I would like families to come away with is nobody's happy to be doing all of this virtually. We want to have you in our schools looking at it as much as you want to be there looking at it. So I think just talking to each school to see what are their offerings as far as being able to possibly come on campus, not come on campus, just see what a school is willing to do at this time to be able to show you their program is going to be really helpful. But then even just down the application, what is being done and what considerations are being made throughout the application process, because is there any flexibility with testing? It's hard for families to get in to get updates right now. So what is the school doing to show that flexibility? Around the teacher recommendation forms, what's the flexibility there? Because does this teacher in a virtual setting know the child as well as last year's teacher or a tutor? So look to see like what flexibility is coming in those. Even getting school records, that's not easy. If no one's in a building, they're not going to get records. So like just is their ability to send electronic records, do schools accept them? Kind of look through those options of the application process as we're heading into that portion of the application season is what can happen with my application? What is the school willing to accept? So just kind of ask those questions so that there's not any surprises along the way. I can say one thing that Siena did is we added a couple of questions to our teacher recommendations because we want to know, is this teacher teaching virtually? Are they teaching high flex? Is it synchronous, asynchronous? So we decided to build those in so we get a more complete picture of the student. But just be ready to be flexible.
Thanks, Becca. That's great. Mark, we thought that a lot of folks might not know what it means to be a non-public school. Mark is from Sheppard Pratt Schools. And would you speak to that a little bit?
Sure. And sorry, I'm not on camera. I am not driving, but heading home from a brief vacation. So, but a non-public school is very much like a private school, but publicly funded. So, whereas, a strictly private school, most of the funding would come from the parents paying tuition. The students' tuition at our non-public schools are paid in part by the local school system. So if a student is from Montgomery County, let's say, Montgomery County pays a portion of that, and then the other portion is paid by the state of Maryland. So same with we serve students from pretty much the whole DC area. So from DC public schools, charter schools, Northern Virginia, and then the state of Maryland. And in all those cases, the students' tuition is funded by public funding, and the students are placed through the IEP process. So the local school system, along with the parents, that IEP team decides that a non-public school is the level of service needed. So that's how students end up at our Shepherd Pratt schools.
Very helpful, Mark. Thank you so much. With apologies, I was supposed to let our audience, our non-video participants know that we were going to circulate a survey. So I'm a little late with that announcement, but there we are. And if you haven't done that, please do that. Ron, we wanted to talk to you about how Parkmont helps its students transition to college.
You know, that's one of the most important moments that we end up sharing with our families, is the one where we're helping them figure out what they're going to do next. Anybody who ends up in any of the schools that are part of this fair, if things go well, ends up having an exceptional experience for their family and for their kid. And that means that they've been working in appropriately rigorous environments with a lot of support. And if things go well, then you have somebody who's so much more connected and confident when they're 17 or 18 than they would have been otherwise. But that makes it all the more important that people are incredibly mindful of the incredible range of options that everybody has at this point when they finish high school, around what kinds of schools they go to, whether or not they go to school full-time or part-time, whether or not they work some and go to school. I never became a fan of the word gap year. I assumed that for some kids, they thought they were retiring for a year in between academic study. But what I think is really important is that people are busy, engaged, and making progress. In our area, there's a lot of families that have trouble thinking that community college could be of any assistance. 10 years ago, I read a statistic that said that half the people with undergraduate degrees in the United States spend some time in community college. So we utilize the community college system for our kids while they're in 11th and 12th grade, if they're ready to do it. And we're very happy if we have a student who leaves us and the next step is they're going to stay at home for another year or two, and they're also going to work half-time, and they're going to take classes and build up their college study load in a way that respects their own executive function or attentional or other issues. So helping people see who's ready to go away and who needs to keep working on some things closer to home and who needs to have certain kinds of programmatic things in place. It's a big deal to get those things right for kids. Americans waste more money ill spent on 4-year schools for people that aren't ready for them. And it's no fun talking to kids and or families when you have a 19 or 20-year-old who's come home because they went off at the wrong time. So the idea that we could help them be really targeted about what's the right moment for them to make those kinds of moves is one of the biggest contributions I know we make, and I'm sure the rest of the schools here make when we're working with those families and with those kids.
That's fabulous. Thanks, Ron. We're going to come full circle. We'll come back to you, Marcia, and wanted to talk a little about executive functioning, how you address it at the Nora School, and whether you have a couple of tips for parents who might be wrestling with that.
Wonderful, Kim. Thank you so much. I mean, so many of our kids that are going to thrive in smaller schools and more specialty schools are oftentimes just working on their executive function skills. And as a layman's terms, I try and explain it as the last part of the wiring that the brain is going to be putting together until you're age 28. As the lucky kids that get the early wiring that has that old-fashioned secretary or executive assistant in their brain that says, oh, this is due on Tuesday, let's get this done over the weekend. The last part is on Monday and it's due on Tuesday, and a purple envelope on the right side of the teacher's desk. That's easy executive function, and those kids do fine in the big public schools. They are not showing signs of struggle from home. I think some really good points were made earlier on that you're seeing your students struggle. Our kids are bright, But when the executive function kicks in, the challenges when you don't have that wiring, the mind immediately goes to anxiety or depression because it doesn't understand what's wrong. You know, I used to be a smart kid, and now why isn't school working for me anymore? So all of our schools really put these great things in place that really kind of regain the confidence. At the Nora School, we put a lot of things in place in the classroom. So you're not going into special classes like resource classes. You're instead getting these great executive function skills in the class based on the project that we're teaching. And so a lot of our kids say, it's like, it's so nice to feel regular again. Just a regular kid going to school, because they're not feeling like they are specialized with a certain label of how they learn. So we chunk things out. We are teaching project and time management skills all the time in our classrooms. How we do it, the one-on-one assistance that happens throughout the long-term project so that the student can stay on time with things. We have study halls put in place and time to check in with your teachers in place all the time, every day during the week, so that the students can start to relax and understand they can access the schools and ask for help without feeling as if there's a judgment or a teacher rolling their eyes because I just explained this a minute ago. So between attention and executive function, our kids are really struggling in the big public schools. Simply by going to schools like ours at the Exceptional Schools Fair, they're going to get that much more personalized attention as to how they learn, but also that those executive function skills are put back into the classroom, not because we're dumbing it down, but we're just putting more like hidden supports into those classes.
Thank you, Marcia. Well, I hope this has been a little taste of why we call this the Exceptional Schools Fair. We've just met so many exceptional schools and school representatives today. This is the end of our series of panels, but we hope it's not the end of the conversation. It's our intention that goes on in the Zoom rooms. So please check your notes and visit often to learn more about these extraordinary schools. Thank you to our panelists for the wealth of information and for sharing all of that with us.
Yes, absolutely. Kim, thank you so much. You did a great job of moderating.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure.
And
Good luck,
Good to see you
everybody.
guys.
Have a great year.